I wish my mom would die. I hate her. Is that bad of me to say? Is it bad to say that I think about her dying? My mom would probably say that she's been a great mom. I'm just selfish, ungrateful, bad. These are the most common statements from women who have grown up with mothers with borderline personality disorder. If you've said these things about your mom, there's a very good chance that you are an adult woman with a mother with at least borderline traits, if not full-blown borderline personality disorder, or possibly narcissistic PD as well, parts of it. I want to talk about this topic because, first of all, let me just say that you shouldn't watch any more of this with your kids in the room, because I'm going to talk about things that either have bad words in them and or are topics that you really would never want your child or even your teen exposed to if you are a loving, caring parent, okay? Second of all, I'm often sitting with clients in my office with adult women, and sometimes men, but often women. And as we start to go through their childhood and understanding of their mothering dynamic, I so often think this person has a borderline mother and she has no idea. And she thinks that everything that's bad about her is her fault and is true and is real. Because this is what happens to us when we have borderline mothers. At our core, we often believe that we're not worthy, that we really are bad, that it is that they are good moms, we're just bad children, and we become bad adults. And it really impacts our sense of self in such a significant way. And as I'm creating these videos around mental health labs, and the first one is about childhood attachment, I don't just want to talk about the childhood attachment. I want to talk about what it looks like when it goes horribly wrong. The good news is that you can recover and get stronger and find strength in the resilience you had to develop as a result of having a mom like this. But if you've ever felt like, I wish my mom would die and just get it over with, I hate my mother. I'm not talking about your teenage adolescence, I hate my mom. I'm talking about you hate her. If you've felt like at your core, you could actually agree with the statement that my mom thinks she's a great mom. I'm just a bad, ungrateful, selfish, fill in the blank daughter. This is the video for you. Or if you know someone like this, please share it, because there is so much power when you understand that you were not deserving of this treatment, and that you don't have to carry these wounds with you, that this is about your mom and her disorder. And that's where I think it's helpful, not about labeling or diagnosing, okay? So I'm gonna go through first really what it feels like on the receiving end as a daughter with a borderline mother. And then I'm gonna talk about what it does to us when we have moms like this. So I'm going to break it into two videos, and I'll probably do some more on this topic. But let me just go through what it feels like on the receiving end with a mom like this. The first thing is that they have this I love you, I hate you. You often feel like they're either all about you or they hate you. And this starts even in childhood, but you can really feel it in adulthood. We call it splitting often in the psych world, but it is this black and white thinking. And you're either for them or you're against them, and there really is no middle ground. The next one is they have no boundaries. They tend to violate your boundaries in the way they talk to you, what they expect from you, how they might overshare with you. So really no boundaries in general. They don't respect yours, and they often don't have them clearly in themselves, so there is no modeling what boundaries look like for you. They will name call you and curse at you. They'll call you names like bitch, slut, whore. They will say, why are you dressed like a whore? They'll say, you're a piece of shit. They'll say, shut the fuck up. They'll say, you're a bitch and I hate you. You're the meanest person ever. You're horrible. You're a horrible person. And on and on and on. Normal, healthy mothers do not talk to their kids like that. They will make false accusations. They'll accuse you of lying, cheating, or stealing. They'll accuse you of stories or things they've made up in their head they think that you did or didn't do. And they often will say that they're psychic, or they have this sort of intuition that they know it's true. This can also lead into dissociation, where they actually will it'll look like kind of like a psychotic dissociation, but it's not. It's part of this borderline identity disturbance that they have. They often will be extremely unpredictable in terms of emotion, and especially around anger and rage. These are the moms who can, within an hour, go from calm and happy and loving you to completely raging at you and screaming at you. They will be scary in their rage. They can be physically abusive in their rage. They can be dangerous or violent, or they can just be plain old screaming, yelling, mad, angry, scary in a way that is way beyond a normal reaction in terms of anger. They also feel like you're always going to abandon them. This is a big core of borderline, but they always believe that at every turn you will leave them. And they often treat you in ways that either make you want to leave them or that you eventually do leave them, or you abandon them on some level, whether it's relationally, psychologically, mentally, or physically. They tend to have constant instability in their relationships. So if it's with your dad or your stepdad or boyfriends or their girlfriends or their friends, their parents, they can't really maintain any real whole relationship. And so they often have chronic instability with everyone, including you, of course, and they will try to pull you in to align often against that person if they can, especially when you're young. You often find yourself, as a result of all this stuff, of course, walking on eggshells. And so you just always want to tread lightly because you just never know what you're going to get. You often find that you have to be the mom. Even when you're little, you feel like you're the caretaker. That goes back to being overly involved in the parent's state of mind. If you could say, my mom's always been this way, nothing really shifted. She's always been in this hallmark of different behavioral patterns I'm describing in emotions, that's a typical sign. With moms that have borderline, there's often, like I said before, extreme mood swings, even within the same hour. So it's often in the same day. They can love you, they can hate you, they can be happy, they can be angry, but you will notice that their own ability to be stable truly varies, and it just like that, it can just flip, like flipping a switch. These kind of moms can be very controlling. They like to be in control, they like to manage, they're always trying to keep things sort of working in their favor and sort of manipulating you to keep you under their control. So they will tell you lies, they will, try to manipulate people around you, but they like to have control. They can also abandon you when it serves them. And they can also be very reckless and impulsive in terms of their choices, their spending, their behaviors, even their suicidality or threats. There can be this just sort of, like I keep saying, lack of predictability, which can really play out in their daily choices and their life choices and the risks that they take. If you feel like your mom hates you, if you actually could say, I think my mom hates me, I really do, or she's told you she hates you, or she's told someone else she hates you, if she can cut you out of her life like that, that's definitely can be a borderline characteristic. And she'll often do things like actively try to turn your own children, your partners, your friends against you. If you've ever had a situation where you felt like your mom was talking about you behind your back to your own children, to relatives, they will often try to align people against you, and it doesn't really matter who it is. It could even be your young children. They often have suicidal ideation. They often can be suicidal in general. The high end of the borderline can engage in really risky substance abuse issues and behaviors and risk-taking in terms of suicide. And so that can be a sign, especially if you see that and with a cluster of other really extreme symptoms. They often lie about stupid things, like they'll lie about small things that you don't think even matter. They have this sort of selective memory and creating situations and narratives that really suit and fit their belief system about whatever it is. They don't validate your emotions, they often blame you, and they will pretty much find any way to make it about anyone but themselves. So these are not the moms that will say, I'm sorry, you're right, I made a mistake. These are the moms that will say, you're crazy, what are you talking about? No, I didn't, that didn't happen. It's very much that gaslighting that we can see with narcissism. We'll often see that in borderline as well. So like I said, nothing is ever her fault, and it's often everyone else's fault. The other big, kind of summing all this up is really the constant relational instability with everyone. Like I said before, you'll see that with really everyone and anyone that comes into her life. And depending on where you are in terms of being the good or the bad child, whether you're an adult or an actual child, they'll try to pull you into that instability sometimes. So like if the mom is dating somebody, you might get shoved off to the side, but the minute that doesn't go so well, then she's pulling you back in and you're her new BFF again. And the last hallmark is this tendency to constantly over-involve you in her state of mind. And so kids with these kind of moms, we learn how to rotate around them at all times because there's a lot of fear, a lot of it like lack of predictability, and all of this really serves to keep her at her core trying to avoid the one thing that she doesn't want, which is to be abandoned. But as you can imagine, all of these behaviors and choices she makes often end up creating abandonment in the end for her. Often as we become adults, we either tend to completely, really pull ourselves out of her life, set rigid boundaries, which if she will respect, which is very rare, that can work sometimes, or we have these very distant relationships, or we have to completely disavow ourselves from them altogether because it is so toxic. The borderline really behavior never ends. And as adult women, we often need to remove ourselves because we don't have a lot of choices when we have a borderline mother. All right, so if you can really connect many of these statements, there's a very good chance your mom has some form of borderline traits or personality disorder, or also potentially some traits of narcissistic personality disorder. And so these are what that looks like. If you're sitting in therapy and you start to assess your childhood and you can relate to a lot of these things, I would highly encourage you to talk to your therapist about it, or a friend, or get some resources, because it truly affects the core of who you are and how you see yourself, how you deal with relationships and feelings and emotions, all going back to those attachment videos. And the next video I'm going to make is going to be all about what it does to wound us when we have a parent with BPD, especially a mom. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you will subscribe and hit the bell for more content. Please feel free to share your own borderline mom stories, or just whatever really resonates for you, or anything else you think I forgot, in the comments down below. And please stay safe and well, and I'll see you next time. Take care.